And at the end of the day, it's really about communicating and engaging an audience and hopefully converting them, whatever a conversion means to you.
Welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast, where we explore the ins and outs of the seven figure journey. My name is David Gilliland. I am one of your hosts here. And today we have the privilege of having Nate Berger with us from Knock Media. Nate, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, David. Great to see you.
Now you're calling out of New Haven, Connecticut. Do you guys? There's, I think there at the current time, are there some storms rolling against the coast right now? Just from what is it, Ernest? This will date the podcast.
They told us it was the thousand-year storm. There were a couple of local communities around us who got hit really hard. And as I speak to you now, there's still rain coming down. We got more coming tonight.
Wow, wow. We the first tailings of this we ran into. We just left with the whole community of friends that we were really got to know well in Puerto Rico. We spent the summer there. We left and we just got back here stateside, and our friends back there were hit by that same weather system. And boy, there was a lot of flooding. There's just a
Yeah, it's
lot
a
of flooding
mess.
going on. Anyway, well, we hope you're safe. We hope the people around you are watched out for. Uh, as we dive in today, I kind of want everyone to just kind of get to know Knockout Media, as I understand it, is this like everyone needs help getting word out about their business online, but you guys take it to the next level. And you're like, no, you need this user experience that people love to interact with your brand, that people can find you, use you, and not just like website, but the mobile and the wearable device, like how really bringing that in tight. Tell us just a little bit more. How did you get started in this, and what's your target market? How did you narrow your focus?
Sure. Knock Media is an agency that I started, it's crazy to say, 20 years ago now. So I've been doing this for a little while, and we do specialize in user experience. On paper, we're building custom software, we're designing and building websites and apps. But me personally, and the group that I have formed here, really gravitate towards the presentation, the look and feel, the story that we're trying to tell. And at the end of the day, it's really about communicating and engaging an audience and hopefully converting them, whatever a conversion means to you. And we focus on that part alone. So while I do have a great team here of developers, we really hang our hat on the UX. The UI, UX are the common terms, UI meaning user interface. And that's really where I got my academic training. And I was exposed to development and design early on in my career. And I really just loved the design side of things. And this was 20 years ago now. So figuring out the software back in the day and not having that growing up, it was a game changer for me to sit down in front of a program. It was Photoshop and Flash back. This is again early 2000s. So these programs, some of them still around, but that was amazing to me to be able to sit down and take what all these ideas that I had in my head and actually be able to put them on paper digitally. That was something that still sits with me today. And over time, I've built a book of business around that. We've created great teams delivering those types of services. And to your question about the target market, it's, we'll call it an eclectic mix. I work with a lot of local startups. We are based here in New Haven, technically on the Yale campus. So we do a ton of work with technology, retail, healthcare, you name it. And we tend to gravitate towards the more difficult. I'm I'm still doing smaller brochure style websites and apps, but where we really enjoy working is with the challenging projects.
Very cool. Very cool. And I mean, we all know it's a pretty picture to paint, like, oh yeah, and things went well and we grew and such, but it's bumpy. Being an entrepreneur is bumpy, and there's a lot of ups and downs. And it's fun because they're like, you like the challenges in your projects for your customers, but there are challenges in our own business just because of the growth, because of the success that you've had. And some of them you've really, found some great insights and growth since passing the seven figure mark. You hit your first million, and you've been growing since. What are a few insights? What are some things you've learned as you've overcome the challenges of growing your business?
It's a loaded question. There's a lot of learnings along the way, and the challenges, the tough days often are what pave the way for that success. But I've learned that you don't ever stop. You don't ever stop learning. I find myself up against scenarios where you say, well, gee, I'm never going to do that again until you do that again. It presents itself in a different way, a different shape or form. And that is one of the bigger challenges. And I go back to early in my career before I started Knock Media, I had a slew of great mentors. And one of them, I joined a software company while I was going to school. And I remember conversations with this mentor vividly. And one of the things that she had said to us was, when you've got a team this large, at that time she had 40 people, when you've got a team this large, someone's having a bad day every day. And as the leader, as the person in charge, you need to be able to navigate that. And so there were many lessons that came just from that one comment, but things that I take into my day now, 20 years later, where if you've got teams with different types of people, all from all types of places, you really need to connect with your team members. And I like the way Gary Vee puts it, where you're working for them and they're not working for you.
Yeah.
You could be at the top of a 40-person team. For me, 11, and I've seen every size in between that, from just me being a sole entrepreneur to having a team of 20. It's the same thing. Where if you could be human and connect with those individuals to a degree, learn what makes them tick, that level of engagement and interactivity with the people around you is key. And sometimes they don't even have to tell you if they are having a bad day. You're already going to know. But that type of involvement that my mentors showed me is something that I try to carry into my day, where it's more than just being a boss or a leader. We can give whatever title we want. If you can really connect with those individuals, you can show them a ton of value with how you lead. And that to me was motivating. I see the people around me are motivated by that. It's about going above and beyond and connecting with those individuals.
Okay. What was the name of your mentor, or what is the name of this mentor?
Elaine Price.
A little shout out to Elaine Price, then for
Well,
teaching a lesson, right?
rest in peace, Elaine Price. Yeah, she was a tremendous mentor for this. She ran several product and service businesses and really looked out for the youngins. Myself, I was still in college when I started working for her. And I remember sitting in meetings where I was surrounded by people who had been doing this for a lot longer than me, were much more knowledgeable than me, and she would point to me or one of my peers who had just gotten started and say, "Well, what do you think?" Now
Mm,
that to me was really empowering, to have a voice at a very young age and being surrounded by people who I knew I was in deep water. I knew that these people all had a lot more experience than me, but wow, this person is giving me a spotlight, giving me an opportunity to speak my mind here. She was brilliant with that. And those are the
oh,
types of things that I like to take into my day, to treat everyone the way that you want to be treated, the golden rule, but also, empowering individuals to be the best version of them.
I
It's
love
really
that.
it's profound, and it's stayed with me to this day.
And the power is, I'm going to say, immeasurable. Not that you can't see it hit your books, but that it doesn't have a ceiling. I mean, how many of us, and listeners included here, who have sat there and say, "Ah, how do I motivate these people?" And you said it twice. Very motivating, very motivating. And there were a couple of key things that I just want to call out, and then I want to open up to see if you want to add any more piece to it. One of the keys that you put in there to get really motivating your team so they want to give their all and create more value for you and your customers was to be aware of and know your team, know your people, care about them, right? Be aware they're going to have a bad day. Are you there? Are you caring for them? Are you seeing, you learning how to work with them? Do they know you care about them? And then number two, give them a voice long before they've earned it, right? That's you're just like she was pulling from you and saying, "What do you think?" And you're sitting there thinking, "Why are you asking me? I'm the newbie." And she really wanted to know, "What do you think? What are your thoughts?" And engaging you in things beyond your abilities at that moment, pulling you in, calling you up, having you step and see and think and I mean, who wouldn't want that? Someone who deeply cares about me, who trusts me with big stuff, I'm going to step in and do my absolute best. And she knew that, right? She knew that
Yeah,
that's how that works.
it's a case of as the tide rises, so don't all the ships.
Yeah.
Where I think when you're a good leader and you could recognize that as a team we need to succeed, in order for that to happen, we need everybody pulling their weight. And you put it nicely, where if you could if you could be put in the deep end, but with the proper guidance, having a leader who is looking out for you while you're in the deep end, then you're most likely going to be in a position to accomplish more than you thought was possible. In
Yeah.
some cases, maybe more than what the leader thought was possible. And doing so by assigning responsibilities that are above and beyond, and again, shining that spotlight on the individual, those are all ways to do it. But it goes back to your first point, which is a genuine care for not only the work that you're doing, but the people that are doing it. That speaks beyond words. When you come into work in the morning, and I recall same mentor, same job, having to cold call opportunities in Germany. We're on the East Coast, they're 6 hours ahead. So we started the day at 3 a.m. When I got there, Elaine was already there. Not only was she already there, but she had more energy than I thought could be imagined at this hour. But this is the person that asked me to do this crazy thing. I had never started my day at 3 o'clock in the morning, and she's right there, right beside us. Small things like that I can do very easily here. We build software, we do launches. When you launch software, you tend to do those in off hours. So this is commonplace for me and what we do at Knock, which is I ask individuals to be available at some weird hours. What's the best way to motivate that person beyond a bonus or a pizza party or coffee, whatever it is that they like that's material, is being there and being
Mm,
present and being ready to work for them. That
yeah.
type of approach has helped me in all hours of the day.
I love that. I, I'm just going to pull out a couple more things. So my pulling out isn't adding to, mine's just the highlighting. One, a key to success at this stage of business and any stage of business is to find your mentors. and then and then two, you didn't say that she jumped in and did the job for you, that's how she led out, but rather that she came when she asked for sacrifice, she showed sacrifice alongside. She was there to serve you. You were there to cold call. She was there to serve you and help you succeed and the team to succeed, and you knew that. She was leading, she was with you, she wasn't just tossing you out there. um, Lovely. I'm going to pull out one more, a third. Talked about when they're in the deep end, um, that you don't just throw them in, that you give them, that they know that they have the support. Yes, they've got to swim, but there's the support around them. If they choose to swim at all, they'll find success because you're there, right? And you shared an example of physically being there. Are there other things that when you throw someone in the deep end, or a project beyond their ability, that the water's going to be up above their head on this one, that are there other things you've learned to do that help your team really succeed, take that next step up because you support them in a certain way? Any other insights you'd share there?
Yeah, I mean, I relate this to my business, and I am a designer by trade, but what my service-based business provides is generally a product. There's a tangible site or app or service that's produced there. I'm not doing any of the development or engineering work, but I've got great engineers that work for us. For me to offer expert feedback on a developer's task is I'm in the deep end there. So it's not so much me saying I can help you with this directly. I can't get into the code like that, but I can position you with someone else who can, another expert. connect the dots, so to speak. So in those cases, when maybe it's me, maybe I don't know the answer to the question, I can help you get the answer. And likely it's right under our noses. It could be right here in house with somebody that we know. But because I've been doing this for so long, I've got this wonderful network of local and not local individuals who I can tap into at any point. And if there's any blind spots for me as the person who's delegating the task, I can help individuals connect those dots and remove the blind spots. But I'm
Yeah.
not the one with all of the knowledge in every area. I think that's part of it too, is recognizing what you do and doing what you do best, where especially in the world that we live in of software, you're not going to be great at every single path. But if you surround yourself with people who subscribe to the same methodology, if you're all thinking, let's all do what we do best, then collectively what we're producing is going to be that much better because everyone's focusing on what they're really good at. That I really like. I really like assembling teams, getting people who are really good at what they do, and I can help maneuver and empower and communicate all of that, but they're the ones doing all of the brilliant work. I'm just assisting, and like Elaine many moons ago wasn't making the cold call, but she armed us with the script, helped me beat that script up so that it was good. We were speaking to people in Germany in English. She had done this before. So tapping into that experience was really helpful. And not for nothing, we were very successful with that outreach. There was three of us making cold calls and we got a bunch of opportunities from it. It wasn't
That's
because we
awesome.
were great at cold calling. It was because of her guidance and really knowing at the moment that we were in the deep end, but realizing that you weren't there alone.
I love that. I love that. Um, Great insights. Okay, we've been like richly fed is one way of saying that. Now, Nate, the beauty about success in growing your business and is that uh, first of all, we love solving problems and challenges, and as you solve one in this business building entrepreneur world, you just get to find a new one on the other side of that. You jump one hurdle, you find the next hurdle, right? There's always a new one. What are you dealing with right now with this ever expanding team where maybe we can help and give a little bit of value back to you today?
It seems like there's always a new challenge. And as the team grows, I've been here before, so I'm seeing similar challenges, but dressed differently. It's really, I think it goes back to team building and getting the right people in the right spot at the right time. We run a service-based business, so one of the bigger challenges is getting, the portfolio of work in front of you, and then not being so focused when you've got a great project, not being so focused on that that you're not thinking about the next project. It's
Yeah.
constantly moving, and there's this dabbling back and forth of, from a sales perspective, being a hunter versus a farmer. I just had a great conversation with a potential customer last week who described it so well in that they were spending all of their time cultivating the opportunities that were right in front of them. They were farming, but nobody was out hunting. And for me, I immediately understood what they were trying to say because I have seen the same thing myself. So I think it's about being diverse in your approach. And I made the mistake in years past about being so focused on three, four steps down, but not really spending the time that I needed on this step or the next step. And that was one of the really big lessons learned, and it continues to be a challenge where you've got to compartmentalize to a degree, and you've got to be able to give your all and all that focus for what's right in front of you. But in the theory of beginning with the end in mind, you also have to consider those potential steps that are down the road. That delicate dance is something that I still to this day am trying to work my way through, and I find ways to improve. And then again, the challenges propose themselves a little bit differently, so you have to maneuver. It's a
So
constant dance.
let me see if I can reword this a little bit, if I'm understanding. You're at a point now where the here and now demands demand you to do it really well, get it done really well, and yet it takes so much time that maybe the future work isn't getting done as well as it needs to. The seeing down the path, so the long term work versus the short term, and then when you jump over to the long term, the short term stuff may suffer. as you give your all into the long term. And you're like, man, how do I get these both to win at the same time? And that keeps your business from growing. In fact, it probably does a revenue line up, down, up, down, up, down. Is that fair? That's
It's completely accurate. It's very much a balance issue where you look at even internally in your life where it's very common. I would imagine I'm trying to balance family with work, with
mm-hmm.
me, taking the proper time, whether it be going out for a run or just thinking, that balance ongoing where I've always found where if I'm excelling at one thing, it's at the cost of something
Of
else.
another.
Where
Yep.
I'm spending 12 hours a day working and I haven't worked out in 3 months. Well, that's not good. I need some balance here. I need to be able to evaluate what I'm doing and do more of the stuff that I'm lacking on. The same thing at work when you're thinking about right now we're just talking about sales, but it could be even on a micro level when you're talking about one project. This is a 6 month ordeal, and I'm really focused on. For us, it's we're doing UX planning, right? So I'm figuring out the design. I'm figuring out what the language is going to be, but we haven't given enough time to thinking about what we're going to be engineering, what we're going to be building. So in life, in a project, within a business, I see the issue of balance is always there. It's never not there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Let me see what I can bring, and maybe there's some value in it. And I'd like you to push against it, especially if I'm not grasping all of it. So let's play a little. I've seen I've seen it's probably in the level of 1,000 companies now that have had these challenges right around eight to 12 employees. You get 8 to 12 employees. This is one of the things that throws your balance off. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to touch things that throw our balance off, and then strategies that I've seen people use that help them move forward. If that's fair, is that okay, Nate?
That sounds great.
Okay, so one of them is nothing more than a new stage in business. So imagine you're a cyclist, you're riding your bike, you're going along, and you are maxed out in your current gear, and you're pedaling as fast and hard as you can, and people around you seem to be zooming by working half as hard. Uh, and the difference is, at the right time, they shifted gears, and so the same energy gets 3 times the output. So there is a shift that happens right at this size, 8 to 12 employees. Just know that that's the shifting point. Normally, you want to do it a little earlier or you start feeling out of balance. I've seen people without shifting get to 20 employees and hate life. I mean, just hate it because even if they figured out and their revenue line's going up, their margins are going down because the way that they're leading, they can't get the best out of their teams. It's a new way of leading your teams. And it had to do exactly what you talked about. I'm at this stage of getting the right people in the right seats and organizing that work well. So there's a shift that happens. There's a new way of leading, new way of organizing that's right around this size. So that's one. Have I learned to shift gears? Because the problem is your formula for success that got you from 3 team members to 10, 11 team members, that formula has expired. And so your brain's telling you, I know how to succeed. It's worked for the past X number of years. But the reality is it's a new formula now that you have to learn to take you to triple in size again. Okay, so it's a new formula at this stage. That's the first thing that we ought to talk about. Um, and then if I look at a second piece, there's a lot of times where maybe our clarity around what is our business here to do can get fuzzy because business is fun for us. It's measurable and there's a team around us and we're working on it. We know our goals and all this and that. And yet sometimes we don't have as clear of goals and measurables and timelines and urgency around our family, but just because we haven't built that structure, right?
Sure.
you and your spouse, me and my spouse, we may not have a clear plan, a vision of what we're trying to achieve, and then the steps we're taking and how we meet regularly to check on that progress and the excitement that can build just because no one teaches us to do this well with our family or with whatever other organization you're trying to be a part of and find that balance. For me, it's family. And without clarity of personally my purpose and vision where I'm going, and then a plan, roll that out, and then especially with my spouse, our purpose and vision where we're going, without that, we're not intentionally building anything. We're doing what the community around us has told us a family is and creates and does. We're just responding to what the school system says, to what the community engagement may be, to or a church group may say we're supposed. We haven't been intentional, so we're kind of living by default, which is harder, right? It's harder to meet all those demands. It's harder to figure that out. And the business that we're running has clarity. And so, where do we want to spend a little extra time? Well, the business, there's clarity. There's a whole team depending on it being done just right. I know what I have to be done, what I have to get done by when. I don't have that defined in family, then the balance is going to get whacked off over and over. Our heart pulls us to the family, and yet the tactics pull us to the business. The actions pull us over the other. And so that's another area. So if we think, okay, how do I shift and lead bigger teams in my business? And how do I get clarity around what I am all about and a vision there and planned and specific within, because you were talking about balance with family. Before the call, I found out you love your family. Your family's a big deal to you. You've got two beautiful children, wonderful spouse. That's kind of where that is. So those are two areas to think about. For the purposes of this call, which one do you want to dive into? Because I can play on both.
Well, you're speaking to me on both levels with finding another gear, um, and also what I'm gathering from what you're saying is it's like a personal mission statement.
Yeah.
Where you can write
That-
down a mission statement for your business, and that's fairly common. One of the things I've been talking about on LinkedIn previous is writing personal mission statements. And I found that doing this as long as I have, burnout is real.
yeah.
It's a real thing. And I can look back at my career and I could pinpoint areas where I've been burnt out and the business suffered, my life outside of business has suffered. And now, over the last year or so, I've been on a bit of an odyssey myself. I was never a book reader. I'm still not a book reader. I'm a book listener now, but I've just I'm consuming mass amounts of books now, and I'm into some self-help books. Just listening to Relentless, the
Mm.
Tim Grover book for the. I'm in the third round. I've listened to it for 3 times in the last 30 days, and one of the things they talk about is that finding that other gear. And I've just, whether it's my own hangups or whatnot, of being in my mid 40s, having gone through burnout a couple of times, seeing those cycles that you described in my business, am I done? Is
My
the
fits,
best?
have I maxed? Am I just not good enough to take it to the next level? Yeah, it's all there,
It,
right?
it's
Yeah.
definitely something that plays on my mind, right? And now seeing that there's others that think that way, and really breaking it down where for a long time I haven't had a personal mission statement. I haven't really revisited my values. And so how
Yeah.
am I going to take my business to the next level if I can't really get myself in order? And so that
So
inside, that's what I've been working on, is getting myself in order so I can do that.
let's do this then. So let me give you a couple first steps as you're going. So there's a common thread in there. The work that happens at 10 employees plus, and some of the work that you need to do on the personal side. Here's the common thread. And one of them is we need to get our vision out of the head space, out of the what I of course this is what I want to do, out to where every team member is fully in on it. In fact, let them co-create it with you. And when it comes to the personal side, if you're a married individual with kids, and if you don't include this co-creation way of doing this, you're going to find some real problems. So let's let's get this in a way that motivates your team. Remember how your mentor through asked, "What do you think, Nate?" And you're like, "Well, this is above my head." I want your team to be invited in on creating some of the vision of the business. When we do this well, you'll find you'll have more time, freedom, clarity for working with your personal and home life too. But there's similar work. So the first work is to say, and you use the term a mission statement. I'm going to use the word vision right now because there's tactical differences between different pieces of it. So mission statement may be one where like, oh, this is my high aspiration, and it kind of wraps everything together, including customer value proposition and everything. I want clarity so we know which piece is working and what needs to be changed if we need to. So I'll define vision in this way. And it hails to more of a Jim Collins approach on definition. So one is purpose. Why do we care so much about helping Knock Media succeed? Or more importantly, why would I go out and sacrifice and do more and show up at 3 a.m. to make these cold calls? Why would I do this? Give me meaning outside of work at all. Work has to serve this higher meaning, this higher purpose. Uh, could be as bland sounding as save the world, or some really lofty aspirational thing, but that it deeply touches and pulls at you. And so you're going to pull from your personal sense of why, and you're going to pull from all of your team's why, and say, where's a common thread that pulls us together? You'll need to get that clear. You'll need to get these values, like you already mentioned, very clear. So there's a why are we here? There's a who are we? How do we know we belong? So a sense of meaning, a sense of belonging. And then there's what I call a mission, which isn't a mission statement on the wall. It's we're going to conquer this hill by this time. Okay, so this is on the way serving this purpose. Here's our clear metrics of success that are meaningful. Then we're going to have metrics of success that are material, profits, revenues, right? The user, whatever metrics we use to show we're succeeding and viable in the long term of our business. But those combination of those things give us clarity. Why start there? We're talking about shifting gears so my whole team can work with us. Well, first, let's be clear where we're headed, and let's do it in a way that taps into that inner motivation so they want to work through hard stuff. But then we also have a clear goal we're going to go and hit. Now we have a reason to organize around it, get better strategy, have a rhythm set up to where there's pacing. We know how we're building the long term and what hours of the day or the week are set aside to building the future of Knock Media. And the majority of the hours in a rhythm and process for when we're running Knock Media. So then, Nate, you don't have to worry, am I diving in too deep here? Or am I staying too high level here? You have time and space to do both. And your entire team does too. They understand what they're working on and when. And you can be in this dance now, a very healthy dance, building the future while running the present. That becomes an important piece, and it'll give you a sense of, oh, progress you're doing. Now you can start thinking, saying, wait a second, I could do this in my personal life too. I could co-create this with my spouse. We could have regular offsites as a
Hmm.
couple, thinking about what do we want to do 5 years from now. We're looking back. What do we want to say we accomplished during that time? What experiences did we have? What countries did we visit? Or what things did we build? What have our children become during this time? Can we envision this and get clear about that, while at the same time having your daily routines? For me and my wife, it's every day right after work we go on a walk together. The kids finally get to hole up and read books, and we go and we walk sometimes 1 or 2 laps around a big block that we live on, and sometimes lots of laps, depends on the kind of day we had, right? As we reconnect, make our plans, know what we're doing that evening, and keep things rolling, catch up on everything that was going on. And so there are rhythms that you'll put in place, kind of like a heartbeat, where like, okay, we know where it fits, we know what we're doing, and then we can, in balance, work on things you care about. It doesn't mean that there won't be times that you're all in at work and totally unavailable. But then 3 days later or 2 weeks later, you're all in on family and work notes to be quiet because we planned this. We knew we had a major launch here. And so now the family's gone. Family's just not around. And I'm going to be gone with them. And we're going to go and have some time and build some experiences, learn some things, develop some attributes that we care about. So it's the intentionality. Hopefully, there was a nugget in there or two. But what else you want to know? Is that enough to get started?
Now that's speaks to me also. I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about balance within your work life, your family life, but then all of that and clarity and just really taking the time that's needed to think about where you're headed and being open with your teammates, the teammates at work, the people who are helping you deliver whatever it is that you're delivering, but then you can look at your teammates at home too, spouse, kids, aunts, uncles, whomever you're surrounded with. That whole team mind frame where it's not just about me or you, it's about the team and about what we're trying to
That's right.
accomplish.
Yeah,
That's where something I haven't done a great job of in terms of the clarity piece of that, something that I can absolutely work on, but I see the value of that it provides at work, where if you're very clearly defining where you're headed, it allows your teammates to really grab a hold of that vision.
that's
And
right.
that's where people buy in.
That's exactly right. And that 1 hour of clarity, people are like, I'm so busy. How am I going to take an hour a week, hour a day to get clear? And I would just say, just remember, 1 hour of clarity will save you 10 or maybe 100 hours of chaos. And so,
Nicely put.
so take the time, and you'll find you have more. And that's how that plays out. Hey, thank you. Wow, this was so fun, Nate. I feel like we need to just keep talking, but the time is wrapped up. People have finished their commute. Um, Nate, how do people get in touch with you if they want to experience amazing user interface and UX experience for those potentials and customers or whatever, right? They need to build that so that they have the POW and the really the conversion you're hoping for. How would they get in touch with you?
Certainly. You can go to knockmedia.com, or if you Google searched Nate Berger, Knock Media, it's the quickest way to find me. I am all over LinkedIn there every day too, communicating with people left and right. So if you want to have a conversation with me, you can certainly go to the website, knockmedia.com, or on LinkedIn, Nate Berger at Knock Media.
And that's burger with an E, Berger, not
Thank you.
not the one you
Yes.
eat. Okay, Nate, thank you. Thank you again. And for our listeners, that wraps up another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. We hope you found value. We hope you found a little more motivation, a little more clarity of what you need to do to get your team moving forward at this stage in your business. Keep learning, keep striving, keep growing, and keep caring. Until next time.